G'day ladies and gents. If you thought the MiG-19 was a hard plane to fly, welcome to the MiG-21. Yes, they actually turned the MiG-21 mode into a real thing. It's amazing. It's great. You should try it someday. You don't have to rip off your wings for this one, and you don't have to incur death if you crash. Well, maybe, because this thing can apparently go Mark II. Now, you might be thinking, what is a Mark II jet doing at 10.0? And at first, I thought the exact same thing, until I went onto the dev server and gave it a little bit of a fly, and realized it doesn't practically get up to Mark II anyway. Just as the T2 doesn't practically get up to Mark 6. Mark 1.6. Wow, Mark 6 is... that'd be something. But the MiG-21 at 10.0 actually feels kind of weird. Why do I say it's kind of weird? Well, here's the thing. The MiG-21 is a good plane. At 10.0, it's almost well suited. It flies very quickly in a straight line at about 1200 kph, closing in on 1300 kph, which exceeds the F100 by about 100 and something kph, exceeds the MiG-19 PT by about the same, maybe a little bit more, and it exceeds the 9.0s by up to about 200 kilometers per hour, maybe more. This particular plane gets its power, or its notoriety, or its ability from its thrust. This plane has such good energy retention in a vertical that it makes it a strong plane. Is it worthy of 11.0? It actually isn't. It genuinely is not worthy of 11.0. The reason why, and at first I was a little bit confused as well, but this is the MiG-21F. The plane that gets its notoriety is the MiG-21 BIS, and we don't have that in the game yet. It has a less powerful, or the MiG-21 BIS has a more powerful engine than the MiG-21F. It is also, I believe it also has a bit different cannon. It has the GSH-23. That shot, by the way, absolutely beautiful. 2 bullets out of 60. Yes, that's right. You only get 60 bullets, but you can make it work. It is not actually that much different from the MiG-19. The only difference lies in the placement of the guns. The plane is actually fairly competent. It's very, very difficult to use, but once you learn how to use it and learn how to position yourself on the map, it becomes a very strong plane. The missiles are weak, and that is to be expected because the plane's performance is higher than that of the... arguably higher than that of the 19 and the F100. Simply because it's 1, faster in a straight line, 2, it climbs better in a zoom climb, and 3, it turns incredibly well. This thing is so strange when it comes to dogfighting. The problem is, and its one major weak spot, is it loses energy in a turn like you would not believe. It's essentially the Russian rocket ship. It does not turn well in a sustained dogfight because it just loses its energy. I can't really liken this to any other plane because it's so individual and unique, and then it only comes with those 60 bullets, but at the same time, if you think about it, you have, I believe it's 140 in the MiG-19, and you can make that work very easily. You could quite easily get aces if you conserve your ammunition properly. So it's not really that hard to get an ace in the MiG-19 if you're playing your cards right. And you can see here, a MiG-19 PT is diving on me, and I'm using that absolutely crazy, I don't want to call it turn rate because it's not sustained, but it can pull like you wouldn't believe, and I'm not taking my shots here. I'm being extremely conservative. You need to in the MiG-21 because that is just how it goes. You can see another MiG-21 coming in on me. I put myself into a spiral, and that bleeds a lot of energy, but that's fine because this MiG-21 wants a dogfight, and a dogfight he will get. I try to take a shot there, but I don't lead it quite correctly. These guns are really hard to lead. They are different from the MiG-19 because they are placed differently. They are the exact same gun, slightly less ammo, but different placement, and it really makes a difference. You can see here, if that was a MiG-19, I would have had that kill. But I don't get it, so what I do is I prep the missile, and I get ready for an air-to-air missile, because the MiG-21 loses a lot of speed in a turn. And so as soon as he decides to straighten out and get some speed, he's really not going to accelerate away that fast compared to other planes, and he's not going to have the turning, so I get a really, really easy missile kill. This plane is very competent. I don't think it is, at the moment, worthy of anything more than 10.3 though. Simply because it is just not as incredible as everyone makes it out to be. This is one of the early MiG-21s. Sure, MiG-21 BIS, maybe 11.0. I really don't know how it performs compared to, everything else. And sure, F4H. Let's go. I'm keen for that. I'm okay with that. But at the same time, for now, we're dealing with the MiG-21F and the F4C. I'm yet to try the F4C out. I played one game and I died without a kill. I am waiting for the buffers come around. So we'll see how it goes. I'm keen to test it out. But for now, I am absolutely in love with the MiG-21 and the J7, the Chinese one. It does get an extra gun, but it really makes little difference in all honesty. I was 100% right when I said it would make little difference, because you can still see in the clip here, I'm absolutely dominating, and I'm taking fuselage shots. I'm not aiming for wings specifically, I'm not aiming for tails, not aiming for cockpits, I'm just aiming center of mass, and I'm still getting kills. Of course, it's not as 100% reliable. You still get those instances where maybe you could have got a kill if you had an extra gun. Of course, that will happen. It's kind of like going from 650 cals to 850 cals, but at the same time, it really makes a little difference. You still have an NR30, and that cannon is very, very powerful. One of the things you have to realize is that even if you're using the ground targets or the armored target belts like I do, simply because the APHE shell works double on tanks, so, if I need to get a cheeky tank kill to, even out some tickets, or someone's gone to space and I don't feel like chasing them, I can ground pound a little bit. But if you are conservative with your ammunition, if you learn how to play Russian jets properly, meaning you know how to play the MiG-17, conserve your ammunition, you can move on to the MiG-19, you learn how to conserve your ammunition there, and then you finally reach the MiG-21, and that is the ultimate test of stamina. I have not been able to get more than 3 kills in the MiG-21 itself, and in the J7, no more than 4. But at the same time, the plane itself isn't really designed for that. It's not meant for big dogfights like this. You can see all the major fights that I know of happen to be really small, like 4-on-4 or 6-on-6. No more than a small flight of MiG-21s or a small flight of MiG-19s or MiG-17s versus Phantoms, F-100s, you name it. I really think that we have the possibility in War Thunder of lowering the amount of players in a game, because back in the day, back in the yonder days, before my time even, making me feel really old and seasoned, when realistically not really. But basically, there were 7v7s, and part of it was filled out by AI. Now, I don't think we should fill the matches out with AI, but I do think that we could have 7v7s. It wouldn't be a 4v4, because then you would just have 4-man squads dominating the whole thing, which is really fun. Imagine, getting a 4-man of Eurus or a 4-man of OP, or who knows, name any squadron, a 4-man of forward. Gee, that would be fun. But imagine a 7v7. You could also shorten the queue times, or alternatively, you could change the matchmaker to better suit, the allies and Axis thing. You have a bit more in the way of options. You could even reduce it to being map specific. The options are endless here, and I really, really like the potential possibilities. It seems quite promising, to be honest, because can you imagine a 7v7? It would not be a clusterfuck. Currently what we have is a situation where the MiG-21 needs separation, because it just can't get 7 kills. It's just off the cards. You maybe can get 4 or 3 or 5 if you're very, very careful and if you have the chance to rearm and reload. But that comes few and far between in jets nowadays because everyone is so fast. And you might think, well, what if you just increase the size of the map? Well, we did that with Vietnam. Sorry, not Vietnam, Afghanistan. And Afghanistan is still dominated by a few small areas, or it always drifts into a specific area. And that's where the clusterfuck happens. But if you were to reduce the size of the players in that circle, so to speak, then you would have a lot better of a time. You would simply have a better matchmaker. I might make a full video on this sort of stuff, talking about the F4, maybe some other stuff, some potential buffs or changes that could happen to make everything a little bit better. As it stands, it's pretty good. And the MiG-19 and the J7 are great fun. I'll get you a video on the J7 soon. But for the most part, the MiG-19 and the MiG-21 go really well hand in hand, as you've already seen in the MiG-21 or the MiG-19 video. Now, we have MiG-21 mode in the game, and honestly, it's good fun. It's really, really good fun. It is a solid challenge, and it's something that I really, really look forward to. I always love a challenge, and if I can get something, rewarding, like the MiG-21, I really, really enjoy it, and this is no exception. It's actually shaping up in terms of jets to, for me at least, be a decent patch. I have to see on the Allied side a little bit more and, make a proper judgment off that. The G91 R3 looks pretty cool. The Swifts also look cool, and I really, really want to try out the Swifts really badly because those things look like so much fun. But for the most part, the MiG-21 is pretty well as it stands, post-patch balanced. Hopefully it'll eventually go to 10.3, but I'll make a video on that. Perhaps you could put it up to 11.0 and do some other changes, but honestly, it's extremely enjoyable as it stands for at least the 10.0 meta. For 9.0s, perhaps not, but if you're playing your 9.0s, I'd give it a couple of weeks and wait for the patch to slowly change the battle ratings, etc., etc. And if they don't, then we really start laying the pressure, because these things shouldn't really stay at this battle rating. I think the Mark 1s are strong enough at 10.0, and then 10.3 or 10.7 would be good for these ones, for now, as it stands currently. I don't think 11.0 is reasonable, especially considering that you could have the F105 and things like that pretty close. It really depends on the thrust and the maximum speed and the maximum AOA on the planes and the acceleration, more so than the flat turn rate and things like, the Mach number. I don't think it really matters because, let's face it, you'll never get to Mach 2 in this plane ever because it's so slow at accelerating at high altitudes that it just doesn't make a difference. And now that the F4 is buffed, we'll have to see how it goes. But anyway, that's pretty much all. The MiG-21, good for short engagements, not so great for the long run unless you get to land, but it is a very, very good challenge nonetheless, and it is something that I am really looking forward to playing. Anyway, ladies and gents, thank you very much for watching. Take care, and I'll catch you next time.